Welcome back, everybody, to High and Tight, a part of the Sports Wars YouTube channel, a part of geeksandgamers.com. I'm your host, Brandon Andreessen. But before we get going today, if you like what you see, go ahead and click down on the subscribe button so you get the latest on all the videos that we release over here on Sports Wars. This week, we'll be talking All-Star Game, Home Run Derby, midseason awards, and power rankings. But let's start with the big news of the week. And that, of course, was on Saturday after another loss. The Cardinals have fired Mike Matheny after 6.5 seasons coaching the team. Matheny was never known as a very good manager and was generally considered to win in spite of himself. One of the worst bullpen tacticians anyone has seen in recent memory. Really never learned from any of his mistakes on the job. And finally, after reports that he had lost the clubhouse, an athletic report that came out that he's allowing closer Bud Norris to bully Jordan Hicks in the clubhouse and ride him for no reason. He was shown the door. This comes only 2 weeks after the GM of the Cardinals went out and destroyed Dexter Fowler in public. A lot of tough times going on for the Cardinals right now. They're going with an interim manager, but all rumors persist that Joe Girardi will be the next manager of the Cardinals. He has strong St. Louis ties. That's a little bit worrisome because the Cardinals are a very good team with a couple underperforming players in Fowler and Marcell Ozuna. But with the proper leadership, this is a team that obviously could contend for a division title every year. But Mike Matheny was not that guy. Mike Matheny was all sorts of incompetent. It'll be interesting what happens to the Cardinals when they put somebody who actually knows what they're doing in charge. Moving on. The Home Run Derby is tonight, and you'll probably already watch it by the time you watch this. So I'm just going to shoot my predictions at you real quick. If you don't like them, just go ahead and kill me in the comments. My heart says Javi Baez. My head says Rhys Hoskins. So, of course, Jesus Aguilar is probably going to win. Is what it is. Just enjoy it for what it is, and that's hopefully a Chris Berman-less show. I hate him. Anyways, moving on. Mid-season awards time. Everyone's handing them out. Why do I got to be different? We here at Sports Wars have enlisted me to give out every major award for Major League Baseball going into the All-Star break, and I did my best to be objective about it, and here's what we got. Let's do the easy one first. AL MVP. Mike Trout is on pace for a historically great season. Since what I consider the modern era of baseball, which was integration, 1947, I don't give a shit about Babe Ruth. I don't give a shit about Ty Cobb. I don't give a shit about anything. If it was only white people playing, that predates anything I care about. I don't care. So 1947 is my baseline for the modern era. Since the beginning of the modern era, the greatest season by WAR has been Dwight Gooden in 1985 with a 13.3. For position players, the best season was Carly Yastrzemski's Triple Crown season of 1967 when he had a 12.5 WAR. As of now, at the All-Star break, Mike Trout is sitting at a 6.8. It's not a big stretch to imagine that with a big offensive run in the second half, he could be touching any one of those numbers. We're literally watching greatness happen, but we seem to miss it quite a bit because it's happening in L.A. And since Shohei Ohtani's not pitching every fifth day right now, why watch a middling team that's putting in 57-year-old Albert Pujols out there every day? Mike Trout is our generation's Willie Mays, but he's somehow still kind of feels like he's doing it in obscurity because he's not playing for one of the New York teams, not playing for one of the Chicago teams, and he's not playing for Boston. Hell, if he was playing for the San Francisco Giants, he would be the biggest name in baseball by a long shot. Anyways, Trout gets it here with apologies to Mookie Betts and Alex Bregman, who are both having incredible seasons, but incredible doesn't touch all-time great. Going to the NL Central, where it's way more wide open, I'm giving it at this midseason point to Nolan Arenado. There could be cases made for Lorenzo Cain, Scooter Gennett, Javi Baez, and look out. If the Braves stay in contention for the entire season, there's going to be a lot of support for Freddie Freeman, deservedly, who's having an incredible season for an upstart team. That tends to get a lot of voters, and because in the NL East, there's not going to be a ton of fracturing in terms of votes, that should be a pretty unified front for Freddie Freeman. As of today, though, I'm giving it to Nolan Arenado. Second in home runs, fourth in slugging percentage, first in offensive WAR in the National League right now. You'll hear the same tired stories about him. Oh, he's doing it in Coors Field. He's doing it in the rarefied air. Yeah, but he's also playing great defense in the process. He is a cornerstone player for any team in the league. He is the best third baseman in baseball right now, as far as I'm concerned, with apologies to Chris Bryant and Adrian Beltre, several others. But this is a wide-open award. We'll see where it is at the end of the season. For AL Cy Young, I'm going to give it to Luis Severino of the Yankees. Chris Sale's right up there, too. Chris Sale's having another incredible season. The least appreciated pitcher in baseball, just keeps doing it. But, man, there's nothing quite like Luis Severino right now. He's electric. You always feel like you might be watching something special when he takes the mound. He's got a 4.9 WAR right now. He's got 14 wins and a 2.20 ERA. Those are pretty good counting stats for me. I'm willing to give it to him for the moment. But it could bounce back and forth. The Yankees are 4.5 games behind the Red Sox right now. The Red Sox stay in first place and don't have to play in a wild card game. It's going to look good upon Chris Sale's candidacy. Moving down to the NL, you could make a lot of cases for several different pitchers. I'm going with Max Scherzer. He leads the league in wins, strikeouts, and innings pitched. Jacob deGrom has probably been the best pitcher in the NL, but there is the concern that he could be traded here if the Mets are smart and they can get a king's ransom for him. You've obviously got to trade him. The other concern is that because the Mets are so god-awful that deGrom might get lost in the process a little bit. So it might be a toss-up right now between Max Scherzer and Aaron Nola of the Phillies. Aaron Nola has 12 wins, 2.30 ERA for a really good story in Philadelphia right now. They seem to have really figured it out among the young players. They've proven overwhelmingly, once again, that tanking works. If you rebuild your farm system, you do it right. You give the kids a chance to play. The Cubs, the Astros have proved it. The Phillies seem to be right there right now on the precipice of having a really good team for a really long time, along with the Braves, who have done the exact same thing. Makes the NL East really entertaining, especially considering that you have a team like the Nationals stumbling, giving these two teams an opportunity to make their run this year. If the Phillies stay in it, obviously Nola's going to be a contender for it. Right now, I got Scherzer. Moving into the AL Rookie of the Year, I'm going Gleyber Torres. I'm not going to overthink this. He's batting .294 with a .350 on-base percentage, 15 home runs, 42 RBIs, and a 2.1 WAR. Tops among rookie non-pitchers, and he didn't even debut until April 22nd this season. So as long as his health concerns aren't a big deal and he's playing he gets another 65 games in the second half of the season, I think he's going to cruise along to that award. In the NL, it's not quite as exciting. There just isn't a huge depth of rookies that have been around the entire season so far. I'm going to hand the award to Christian Villanueva of the San Diego Padres. He's got 20. He has put up 20 home runs by the 4th of July. Ronald Acuna had the hot start, but he's faded off as pitchers have figured out how to pitchers have figured out how to work him in count. He's really tailed off very hard since mid-May. Brian Anderson of the Marlins is a doubles machine, but he plays for the Marlins, so nobody's quite sure he actually exists. What I'm going to do is I'm going to write in pencil Christian Villanueva and just assume that Juan Soto is going to win this award at the end of the year. Make it easy on ourselves. All right, moving on to the power rankings this week. At number 1, there's no doubt about this one. It's the Houston Astros, the best team in baseball. You can check out Alex Bregman tonight in the home run derby. He's batting .344 in July to cap off an already impressive first half. It's just a embarrassment of riches down there. They just brought up top outfield prospect Kyle Tucker. Carlos Correa hasn't even had the best season yet, and he's still Carlos Correa. And they have Alex Bregman, and they have that pitching staff. The Mariners have had a great season. So have the Oakland Athletics. Nobody's touching them, though. They're the best team in baseball. Heavy favorites to get back to the World Series and try to repeat. Number 2, Boston Red Sox. Easiest number to remember, 9-1. That's where they are in their last 10 games. It's always hard to watch a team like this hit their stride because you know that even as good as they are, they're a team that's going to be aggressive and try to get even better at the trade deadline. A team that might not be as aggressive during the trade deadline, and for good reason, is number 3, New York Yankees. They were in talks about Manny Machado, but those talks seem to have cooled as the Phillies and the Brewers seem to have moved into the front runners for him. And with good reason that the Yankees would back off. You don't want to trade Andujar. You don't want to trade Torres. You don't want to trade Justice Sheffield. You don't want to trade anybody, Clint Frazier. You don't want to trade anybody important from that system. You have a young system with the ability to have a huge payroll, so you can go after any veteran you want to support that team, and you're already good. You're already pretty much locked in to a wild card spot. You're 13 and a half games up today on the Rays for second place in the AL East. They're probably taking a long view of this going, if we're good now, think of where we're going to be 2-3 years from now when we probably will be the best team in baseball because we have all these guys coming up to support all the talent we already have. Why ruin that for 3 months of Manny Machado? That's just smart baseball right there. Number 4, the Chicago Cubs. They're doing it with a great offense and a great bullpen. And a pitching staff that's basically had one good pitcher all season in John Lester and a lot of question marks, especially Yu Darvish. If the Cubs get anything out of Yu Darvish in the second half of the season, if the Cubs get anything out of Chris Bryant and Anthony Rizzo, who have both underperformed this year, they could pull away with this division very easily. And by the time September 1st rolls around, the division could be out of hand already, and they'll be able to rest their starters and get healthy in time for the postseason. Number 5, new to the list this week, Cleveland Indians. Your bullpen is trash. You are a garbage bullpen. But you also have Jose Ramirez, who has 29 home runs this year, including 5 in the past 7 games. That's not bad for a guy who's weighing in at 5 or stepping in at 5'9", 165 pounds. That's some bantamweight shit punching way above his weight class right there. I'm here for it. He'd be an MVP candidate if he was in the National League, but man, that AL is stacked right now. Let's go to the bottom 5. Number 27, the Brewers. What are you doing, Brewers? Come on now. Last week I hyped you as sticking with the Cubs punch for punch. And then in a matter of 3 days, you went from 1 game up in the NL Central to 2.5 back. The Cubs only played 3 times, and you lost 3.5 games in the division. You got swept in 4 games in 3 days by the Pirates, and all of a sudden you got to have your hands in the air going, shit. Like, remember the first Fast and the Furious movie? When Junior gets way out ahead, and then Johnny Tran, I think Johnny Tran passes him up, goes, too soon, Junior. That's the Brewers. Every year. They too soon, Junior. Cubs go right past them, win the division. Hey, maybe you'll get Manny Machado at least, though. Number 28, the Mets. They started 11-1. They're now 39-55. They've gone from 10 games over to 16 games under. Blow it up. Blow it the fuck up. Trade DeGrom. Trade Syndergaard. Trade anything that isn't bolted down. You know you just want to march out Tim Tebow in September. Just do it. Just give everyone what they want. Send them to contenders. Let's see what you guys have when you break it down to the bolts and you start over. You got to do it. Every good team right now has done that. 29, Chicago White Sox. Jose Abreu starting the All-Star game for the White Sox. He is the first White Sox player in 22 years to start the All-Star game for the White Sox. But is he a trade target? He should be. He's eligible for arbitration next year. Then he's a free agent after 2019. Unless the White Sox feel confident in re-signing him, they have to start to wonder whether he's going to be a part of their long-term future when the prospects they have start to get good and they start to get ready to compete. If not, this would be a great opportunity to trade him to a team that could use production out of DH or first base and get a really good prospect haul in return. Probably a better prospect haul if you think about it than Manny Machado because you get that extra year of control out of him. Might be a smart move. The White Sox are a bad team right now, but by the time they're good, the prospects that they get for Jose Abreu could really change everything for them and really change the timeline. Number 30, Orioles. Just trade Machado. You suck. You're awful. Every day you don't trade him, it looks worse for this team. You should have traded him back in the offseason. There were talks you were going to trade him in the offseason, but your owner's an idiot, and so that never happened. I wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't get traded at all because that would be the ultimate dumb move, and the Orioles are a team that loves to make a lot of dumb moves. And, of course, number 31 in a 30-team league, Royals. You trash forever and always. All right, that's it for me today. I'll check back with you later this week after the All-Star game or early next week. If you want to check me out more, go over to Pro Wrestling Nation, a part of Sports Wars, and check out our weekly podcast. Or you can check out my weekly football gambling article at footballabsurdity.com. Or you can check out my stand-up comedy podcast at soundcloud.com/Tim and Brandon Show. Until next week, keep it high and tight, everybody.